There we go.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this month's edition of After Hours with the Crew, that being the Baggers and Brews crew, of course. For those of you new to the channel or watching our live stream for the first time, I'm Bert, and you got George and Austin over here, the other two members of the Baggers and Brews trio. We are three reasonably normal dudes that ride motorcycles and love good beer. Our channel is pretty much dedicated to sharing our adventures and some of that beer with all of you guys. Those loyal subscribers out there tonight that always watch and are watching, welcome back. And thank you for your continued support. For those of you here for the first time, welcome, and we hope you guys enjoy and stick around. Okay, tonight we have a special guest with us. Not our typical motovlogger type of guest. Tonight we have Jonny Roadblock of the very popular Between Two Wheels podcast and now YouTube channel. We hope to get to know Roadblock a little better tonight and maybe discuss some Harley Davidson Motor Company issues. So welcome, Jonny, and thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, to get this started, for the other fellas, George, Austin, and maybe I don't know if you're drinking anything, John, but what are you guys drinking tonight?
Start with me. I got the Wallenpaupack Brewing Company from up in the Poconos, and I'm drinking Harley's Comet IPA. As I like
Harley?
Harley? Yes. Harley? Is that how you pronounce that? Harley?
Harley? Okay.
Harley?
Whatever. George?
It's tasty.
You know, I got the 22-ounce brown bottle, so it's home brew, and that's orange cream ale. So first time I cracked it open, fully carbonated, and it tastes pretty good. It's orangey.
Nice. You haven't shared that with us yet.
Yeah, bastard.
I'm drinking some breakfast blend blonde ale from Hackensack Brewing Company that George gave me a while back, and I forgot what's in the fridge. They canned it, so it's a little flat because it's been in there for a while, but it tastes pretty good.
All right.
And then I'm probably going to switch to some bourbon here in a minute.
Oh, there you go. I'm drinking some San Antonio H2O.
Nice.
That's water. I'm the only one from Between Two Wheels that doesn't drink, so I prefer other stuff. So
I've had San Antonio water. It's not that great.
No. Even after you filter, it still tastes like San Antonio water.
Yeah. So to get started, why don't you just give us a little bit about yourself? You know, where you're from, what you ride, how long you've been riding. You know, whatever else you want to share.
So I've owned motorcycles for 20 years. I currently ride a Dodge Ram with a trailer that tows a 2020 Road Glide Limited. I do have about 1,200 miles or so on that bike. I haven't ridden hardly at all this year. Just with everything happening, I just haven't. And then losing my job, I lost my health insurance, so I haven't ridden at all because of that. But no, I started out 17 years old on sport bikes. I had a Gixxer. Totaled that one twice, which was awesome. But bought my first Harley when I was over in the Middle East when I was in the Navy. And, you know, I had that Softail for about 5 years, put about 83,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And then traded in for a Road Glide. And I've been on touring bikes ever since, Harley touring bikes ever since. And that was in 2009. When I converted over to the Geezer glides.
Geezer glide. Once you go Geezer, you don't go back, right?
Pretty much. Everyone thanking me for your service. Thank you for paying your taxes. I do appreciate that. So do all service members. Continue paying your taxes. That pays them. So,
what led you to the service?
So, I graduated from high school early and tried college out, and I was a double major in mathematics and journalism. And when I got to my midterms, it was a summer semester. Took the midterms, was just bored out of my mind. I remember it distinctly. It was my trigonometry midterm. I put my pencil down, walked out, and drove to the Navy recruiter's office and enlisted. And then September 11th happened, and that just screwed up everything for me.
Why the Navy?
Well, because I wanted to go to a branch that had a lot of technology, and I did not want to look like a flight attendant, so the Air Force was out. So the Navy was the next option.
You'd have made your flight attendant. It'd have been all right, buddy.
Austin was a cute flight attendant.
No, honestly, it really just came down to the Navy had the best enlistment package.
Yeah.
So they threw a lot of money my way.
Okay, so you had a sign-on bonus.
Yeah, $25,000 sign-on bonus.
Yeah. When was that again?
So I enlisted in 2001. I didn't ship out until 2002 because September 11th, 2001, I was at DFW Airport awaiting my flight to Great Mistakes, Illinois. So because of the attacks, I got bumped 6 months into delayed entry program.
Okay.
So
Well, like everybody in the side was saying, both you and Austin, thank you guys for your service. Really appreciate it. So you're in San Antonio now. Are you born and raised in Texas, or?
I am, yeah. So lived in Dallas almost all my life with a small hiatus in Cincinnati when I was growing up. But then finished high school in Dallas. And then after I got out of the Navy, I came back to Texas and lived there until I got laid off the first time. And then that's what got me out to North Carolina. And then I was out there for about 3 years and ended up here in San Antonio.
Well, I was born, not raised in Texas as well.
Okay.
But military brat. So born at Fort Hood, gone before I think I was even, 1 or 2. But my wife and I tried to do a stint down there. We moved down to San Marcos about 2007.
That's a terrible place.
I liked it. But,
compared to all the cities,
we had young kids and like no friends or knew no one, so we ended up moving back up here to New Jersey just bring the kids back to the family. But
yeah,
but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad down there. It was nice. So you're married?
I am.
Kids? No kids?
So we adopted my nephew a few years ago. So he's ours. We claimed him on our taxes for a couple of years, but he just finished college with his bachelor's degree. So
from where?
UT Dallas.
Okay. So I think George wanted to know, how'd you get your nickname Roadblock?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so what happened was we were in Iraq, and the team I was working with, we came up on a checkpoint, an Army-manned checkpoint. They hadn't seen an American in months, and they looked worn out, just dead to the world. So we actually relieved them and said, hey, why don't you guys take a break? We're waiting for our helo to pick us up, so you guys do you, and we'll man the post. And they went to man the post, and they told us about where all the gun emplacements were, and then the rotation of the 50 cal, because that makes sense. But they had this little timer, and they probably spent, it's the Army, so they probably spent $100,000 on this alarm clock that had a randomizer on it. So you'd hit the snooze button, and it would reset to another random time. When the alarm goes off, you move the gun. That's what it was. Well, I was the lowest ranking jerk there, so of course I had to move the gun. And I had taken the 50 off, and I was moving it to the next mount, so maybe 10 yards. And all of a sudden, I start hearing the magic, keep out the Luke, stop or I'll shoot. And I have half my team yelling at this Taliban Toyota truck, and they just wouldn't stop. So I dropped to the ground, used my legs to prop up the barrel, and I just unloaded the 50 cal on them. Unfortunately, the Army guys, again, hadn't seen Americans in a while and got very bored. They switched every round to be tracers. So as I'm lighting this Taliban truck up, it goes through the engine block into the gas tank.
Oh, wow.
When it landed upside down, and it blocked the roadblock.
Right on.
That's awesome.
And then that just easily overlapped because of my riding style. I'm typically a tail gunner, and I have no problems blocking lanes. So just carried over into my road name.
That's cool. That's a cool story.
So
I like that.
Nice. And George or Austin, you guys paying attention to the side chat?
I am. We got a bunch of people in here.
Yes, we are.
We got the Badgers and the Blacktops, Motorcycle Mama, 99 RU grad. We've got Hector in the house. And Hector is he's another Jersey rider. You can see him in our North Meets South video with John Bednarz. We got Bluegrass riders. Dad and Mad just left, 883 rider. Jeannie, Stacy's here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who I'm missing. I'm sure I'm missing somebody.
The Blacktops?
Yeah, we got the Blacktops. I'm a little jealous because I gotta get my own beer, and the Blacktops have fans who sent them beer.
Yeah.
I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah.
you guys just need to start calling out to some of those monthly subscriber services and have them hook the three of y'all up, and then they can sponsor your show.
That's not a bad idea.
I like the way he thinks.
That's not a bad idea. That's definitely not a bad idea. So the podcast.
Yep.
Between Two Wheels podcast. Where did that come from? How'd that get started?
So a long time ago, me and a friend of mine that I've been gaming with ever since I can remember, we were going to start a podcast about video games, first-person shooters. And after Justin wrecked into me and my bike was down, I already thought about it. I was like, hey, what if we started a motorcycle podcast? And we came up with some ideas and just gave it a shot. Didn't have a clue what we were doing. Our first episode was 100% scripted, and it was terrible. I mean, we literally recorded our second episode as soon as we completed the first one, and we just went 100% random, no script. I think we had a couple bullet points, and that was it. But yeah, we totally were riding the coattails of Bikenberg because we didn't do any real advertising of the podcast. It just in his videos, and that it started growing, and we hit 100,000 downloads shortly after our 1-year anniversary.
Wow.
So it was cool, you know. It was one of those things where at first you're like every 2 weeks we were doing an episode, and it was real slow going at first. And then we brought on Dan the fireman. And when we did that interview, it was our first one. and that got us moving. And then John Maxwell and Adam Sandoval, and our downloads just skyrocketed from there.
4 very good names to start off with, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's like
It is one of those things too where it's all about the connections you have. Who do you know? Who do you know that knows someone else? And that's really what this entire game is all about, is who's in your network and who can help.
Yeah,
and more importantly, how can you help them? So,
I mean, there are episodes that the interview episodes are obviously my favorite episodes. And I mean, the Sandoval one was great because that was like the first time I remember, like, we all know his story, obviously, but it was the first time that I heard him really talk about it for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And I still cringe at the Shade Tree Surgeon episode.
Justin still will not watch or listen to that episode.
Oh my God. I was like,
It's pretty gross.
yeah. And if you guys haven't heard the Shade Tree Surgeon episode or know what we're talking about, go download that episode of Between Two Wheels because it's a worthwhile listen. Just make sure you do it after dinner.
Yeah, right after you get done eating.
Was he talking about splitting his tongue?
Yeah, how he forked it.
How he did it?
So it was actually how he got the name Shade Tree Surgeon.
Right.
Okay.
That opened the can of worms that none of us were expecting.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal, though.
Yeah,
Anytime you can see Justin go from pale to super pale, that's a good thing.
Transparent.
But
That's great. Wow. So, I forgot what I was going to say, man. So how long have you known Justin and Uncle Ken?
just over 3 years. We met them when Biking Bird was doing his first Texas motor vlogger meetup thing, and he had put together this. He had about 500 or so subscribers, but he had put together a ride from San Antonio up to Austin, and my wife and I were going to go up there anyways. So we just tag teamed with them, and after that ride, we told ourselves we're never going to ride with these people again. It was it was uncontrolled chaos, but it was his first time ever really group riding like that, and it's his first time ever leading something like that. So it was interesting. But yeah, we actually didn't talk to him again. At that time, I was traveling every week, and we didn't talk for probably 9 months. And then I switched jobs and went to no travel, and I was able to start hanging out and just clicked.
Yeah.
So we often joke, like Bert's like, I don't know if I'd be as cool as Johnny if you hit me in the back. He's like, I'm telling you now, I don't know if I'm going to be that cool.
Nope.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those things, and I think everyone who's a fan of Biking Bird, they've seen the video a few times.
Yeah.
I've been through those kinds of wrecks before. I mean, hell, my wife took me out, and it was significantly worse. No. I think she wanted a new bike, but didn't want to ask for it.
Yeah.
And she also didn't want to have a normal foot ever again. But yeah, it's one of those things where we built a brotherhood around it. Is Adam a dick in person? I was not around me. He definitely has his on-camera persona and his off-camera persona. I mean, it's night and day sometimes. So he's just laid back and kind of just chill. Of course, all the times I've been around him in person with no cameras on, it's been an event or something where it's high stress. And even then, he wasn't a dick. He was cool, laid back dude.
We didn't get to meet him, but I mean, he was pretty close by. He didn't seem like.
Yeah, I mean, during the whole world record bring it home thing, when we were back in the back hanging out in the nice air conditioned hangar bays with strippers and champagne and stuff, or whatever else was put out there, he was laid back, and he was just real chill about things. His concern was, is everyone okay? Are we getting everything done in time to do this, make this happen? That's where his mind was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, talking to him on the phone and things like that, he's super laid back and chill. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, they did a real good job with that ride, and they had no idea. I don't think they really had too much of an idea what they were actually preparing for, because so many people failed to pre-register. I mean, people just kept showing up.
Yeah. But
so I had this on my list to talk about later, but since you brought it up, the Bring It Home ride.
Mm-hmm.
How about talk to us a little bit about that experience for you, as far as how that was being part of the world record, being part of that group that was the cool kids in the back, just the whole thing. Like, how did you even get hooked up to where you were hanging out, in the back? Was it just because of Justin, or did you guys? Are you guys friends already with Adam?
Oh no, we had been promoting the show or the Bring It Home and things like that, but Justin was leading a group that we started here in San Antonio and went and stopped at a number of dealerships on the 35 corridor all the way up. And we just picked up more and more riders. I hate riding in parades or any massive groups where I don't know all the riders. I'm that guy. Up to maybe 100 bikes, I'm fine. Anything over that, just people start being stupid and stop thinking about the group, and they only focus on themselves. And for some reason, you can't stop people from trying to show off. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was a great experience. It was one of those things where I didn't have to do any planning or anything like that for the ride. Justin sent over the routes, and I took a look at them from a safety perspective, but it was just great. All we had to do was plan where we were going to get people in and out of parking lots, right? And how to block up, in essence, the service roads and ramps to be able to get on and off the highways. But other than that, it was just nice not having to do anything other than just ride.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never want to do that again. I'd rather just be us, because what should have been a 6-hour ride was 14 hours, I think.
Whoa.
So, and you're herding a lot of kittens at that point. And very few of us
call them kittens.
Very few of us knew each other. A lot of these folks were random riders. We picked up 2 at a gas station that didn't even know who. They were just going up there, so we'd let them tag along with us, and ended up going up there. But yeah, it was one of those things where the experience was great. Would I ever want to do it again? Not unless I have to.
Okay, so when you say the experience was great, you mean the
camaraderie with people. Okay. I don't want to ever ride a parade like that ever again.
Okay, as far as the ride from where you started to the end, or the actual, the actual parade, yeah.
The actual parade's what I hated. Everything else, I was fine.
Okay.
But again, I like having my very tight group of people I ride with all the time. Okay. I had this guy who's a roommate of mine, Haas. We rode together so much that we didn't hardly ever use comms to talk to each other. He instinctively knew what I was going to do. I instinctively knew what he was going to do. So when we're out there riding and doing things like that, I start to learn and trust people. And when there's a bunch of people I don't know, that's out the window. It looked hot and way too crowded. It was hot, but it's Texas in the summer.
Yeah. We were trying to figure out what people thought it was going to be like because it was Texas. Like, the complaints about it being hot were just weird.
Well, it was in October, right?
Yeah, early October.
Okay, so here, and I understand, you get people from all over the country, you get up in the Pacific Northwest, New England, and even the northern Atlantic region. October, it's cold for them. They don't expect 90-degree heat and a heat index in October. But, you know, if we only had a device that could tell us what the temperature was going to be like, maybe over the next 5-7 days.
Yeah, that would be good.
There's just something we could use to help us forecast what the weather would be like. When someone creates that, they're going to be rich.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know me, I am a sarcastic jerk. By nature, my mom raised me. I blame her, God rest her soul. But it's her fault that I'm like this.
It's funny, you know, you mentioned riding in a parade. Bert, there was a guy in front of Bert, and Bert was totally creeping on him. Because, and you could see if you watch the original video of us going around the tarmac, you know, this guy would slow down in the curves, and Bert was like a gear low and on the throttle, and and he would just look back over his shoulder at Bert. He's like, "What are you doing?" And Bert's like, "Just ride."
I think he actually scared him the one time he won right next to him. He's
crap
like,
out of him. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I was expecting to twist the throttle and go myself, and I kept watching. I'm like, oh boy.
And we had the opportunity at some points. Like, all the people in front of that guy were pulling away because everybody was trying to get on it. And this kid, he looked pretty young. He just did not want to go, and he was driving like a grandpa, pissing me off.
So on our trip up, we picked this guy up at the Buc-ee's gas station, our first official stop. And he's on a trike, and we start riding, and we put him in the back from his friend's request. He's like, "Oh, we don't really ride in a group. Our group is just the two of us." I was like, "Well, that's technically a group. Sometimes you call it a pair, but whatever." And in a trike, he had the entire lane, all 3 tracks, and he still couldn't keep it in the lane.
That's why we can strike.
There's a reason Justin can't post all of the audio that we record when we're on the road, because we talk a lot of trash about people. And so, I mean, he's nice enough, because if I did that, no one would ever listen to our podcast. They're like, "Oh, that Roadblock guy's a jerk."
Yeah. I love talking trash about people. All right.
Yeah, but as far as the kind of the camaraderie side of Bring It Home, I love that. I love seeing all these different people from different walks of life, different socioeconomic places, all of the stuff, just all the diversity that brings us all together through a brand. Brought all people together
through a passion. I mean, it's a passion, right? I mean, that's very cool.
A brand that didn't even want to be involved, right?
Well, they couldn't be involved in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still sucks though.
It does, but you know, it's from my standpoint, if I owned a company, I don't think I would probably be in the same boat they are. Because if I supported Adam Sandoval, in his world record thing, then I have to support everyone who tries it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Around
I mean,
global
they're selling that around the world. So I mean, they don't want to look like they're taking sides for one country or the other. You know.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
It's
It's
good
one of
for
those
them.
things.
People keep trying to break it. I mean, it's still good for them. It's publicity for them, and they don't even have to get involved.
Exactly. It's free publicity. But also, if you guys get your certificates?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, whose name is on it?
Adams.
It's Adams.
Yeah.
If Harley Davidson's name was on there, then they may have been involved. But it's a person, not a company. So
Yeah.
I have to say I'm not going to cast any hate for Harley on that one. So many other things I cast shade on Harley for. I'm not going to give him grief on that one.
But it would also be weird if Harley Davidson had the record for the longest parade of Harley Davidsons.
Yeah.
That wouldn't make a lot of sense, really. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what would stop them from just lining up 10,000 bikes fresh off the assembly line?
Right.
Well, other than the 10 years it'd take for them to make that many bikes. I'm kidding.
That's funny. Okay, so the podcast. We know Justin's got stuff going on right now, but what can we expect from the Between Two Wheels podcast going forward here in the near future? You guys have plans, or you
So as it stands right now, just for transparency's sake, every dime that we bring in from the YouTube channel, from sponsors, from Patreon, all that, everything goes to Project Clean Slate, which is our charity. So because YouTube, that platform is what pays us the most, and sponsors want things on YouTube more than they want it on a podcast, it makes more sense for us to invest money in the live stream and start making actual video content instead of us just focusing on the podcast. And I say that as I'm unemployed right now. When I get in my new job and we start having money coming back in, and I can reinstate my own donations to Project Clean Slate, then we'll be able to logically afford both the podcast as well as everything that goes with the video stuff. For now, Justin, him and Alicia just had the baby Luna. Thank God she looks like Alicia and not Justin. I'm not, we're not allowed to show any pictures, but this is probably one of the cutest kids I've ever seen, especially from a newborn baby perspective, because it actually looked like a child and not like a freaking gremlin. My wife and I both commented like, "Oh, thank God, it looks like a child." But it's
not like Justin.
Well, Justin's his own breed, but no, she's such an adorable kid that I pity in about 10, 15 years when boys start coming around, they have to deal with Uncle Ken, Uncle Roadblock, and Justin. They won't know what to do. But we are hopefully going to kick back off studio recording for the podcast, probably beginning of next year. Okay. Just right now, Justin having the baby, Uncle Ken has the Rona. I may have Rona. We're just keeping everything segregated as much as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm not done with this topic, but before I forget, I wanted George to answer this question.
Let me see this whole question here. I got to move a window. You guys putting your bikes away soon. Where is the content going for winter installs and fixing Austin's bike? Well, where do we start with that one? I don't think anybody's putting a bike away soon.
Why do you put your bikes away? Is that the winterization thing?
It's not. I don't think any of us winterize our bikes, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't think any of us. I mean, there's a good day. I mean, everybody. I think we're all about getting out. Probably the only person that's not getting out this winter is this guy because he's got work to do, and that list is long. He can tell you how long that list is, but he's recording some footage, and he says he's recording some footage of putting this baby back together, taking it apart.
We'll see.
So I'm excited to see it.
You guys see that super chat? You can help me out. It's gonna be a bit.
So I feel so bad. I got a bunch of stuff for my Road Glide before I bought it. I hit up Advent Black. I was like, okay, I'm buying a limited, so I'm going to need the stretched bags. I'm going to need the liners. I'm going to need the stretched side covers. Got all of it. Still have not installed any of it.
Wow.
It's just been one of those things where I'm like, hell, I'm going to go out there and do this. I'm unemployed, but, depressed. The last thing I want to do is go wrench on something.
I was going to say, you got tons of free time.
Yeah.
How many Harleys deep are you? That's what I've got to know, because I don't think I know you've had bikes that have not made it to the 5K service.
Oh, lots of them.
Yeah. See, this is
okay. So I had the 04 Softail. I had the 09 Road Glide. I had the 2011 Road Glide Custom. I then had the 17 Road King. Then I had an 18 Street Glide. That's the one that Justin wrecked. That became a 2018 Road Glide, whatever the hell their specials are. I think it's a special. And then I traded that in for a Road Glide Limited. So what's that? 6, 5?
What was your favorite?
I tell you, I really liked my Softail from a just fun to ride standpoint, but I'd have to say my Road Glide. I've been on that the longest.
Yeah. So, Anonymous, thank you for the super chat, but I will say Austin's not going to see any of that for his bike. So,
$1.99. What's that? That's about 10 cents after Google takes their cut.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate you though, brother.
It's all right, though.
Thank you.
we just had Cycle Fanatics step into the side chat there. What's up, John? He's another Jersey rider. Check out his
Hey,
channel.
what's up, John?
Roadblock changes bikes like he changes his undies. That'd require me to wear them, son.
Oh, God. This just took a really dark turn here.
But actually, I have my eyes set on another bike.
Yeah.
No, it's not an Indian Challenger. It's I'm as soon as I get my health insurance, I'm gonna go and test ride K1600 from BMW.
Ooh.
I just
So, for a guy here who knows nothing about BMW, what's that comparable to for a Harley?
a Road Glide with actual power, actual torque, actual handling, but it's just not as good of an infotainment. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay.
Has a fairing?
It does have, well, it does, yeah.
It's a sport tour, right?
It's a sport touring.
Sure.
It's the size of a Road Glide.
Okay.
But I have a lot of friends who are long haul riders, and they all swear by it. They all swear by that, the K1600, any of them. A lot of them ride the GTXs or whatever they're called, but the full touring setup. But yeah, I'm to the point where I want to try something different. I want to learn how to wrench on something different. Just have something different to play with. I've been on Harleys for a long time now, 16 years. So
with
don't you have a Harley tattoo?
I do. Yeah, I have
no Harley.
Well, my wife still rides. She has a Road King special.
Can't count your wife's bike.
I bought it. It's in my name. But no, my wife's a wedding planner, and she works pretty much every weekend. So it's one of those things where if I need a Harley to go feel like a man again, then I can just switch out her seat and go ride her bike. And then when I want to feel like a kid, I can go hop on the Beamer and do wheelies past all of the Harleys.
What does your wife have?
2018 Road King Special.
Oh, nice bike.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I know I have friends who are on sport touring bikes, and they love those bikes. A buddy of mine just 2 years ago, he did a transcontinental of the U.S. Justin, who we were 99 RU grad, who we were in Sturgis with, he's got an older sport tour, and they love those bikes. I mean, it's definitely got a following, that style of bike.
Yeah, and a couple of jobs ago, I worked with a guy that he had one, and I wanted to see how powerful it was. And then he quickly introduced me to what their throttle looks like compared to ours.
Yeah.
Significantly faster. I mean, by the time he hit third gear, he was probably half a mile in front of me. So it's one of those things where it's nothing against Harley. It's just I need a new challenge.
Yeah. Up in North Jersey for quite a while, we had Bergen Harley, and they're not anymore, but for a long time they were a BMW dealer as well. And it was an odd thing to see, a Harley franchise carry, a second name like BMW. But that's when the R9 came out. They had some nice bikes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. R9 was a beast.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest, I don't know much about any bikes other than Harleys.
And that's my problem, is I don't either. I know specs and whatever I can read online, but right. I don't have any real experience playing with them, understanding why the Honda Goldwing is a more comfortable bike than XYZ. I can't speak to that. And if I only stay with Harleys, I'll never be able to speak to that.
Yeah.
So Goldwing is not off the table.
Oh no, Goldwing's definitely off the table. No, the next motorcycle I buy will be the BMW.
All right.
Yeah. I've been talking about that damn thing for 3 years now, almost 4 years. And when I traded in my Road King, I was actually on the way to the BMW dealership.
And what happened?
Well, my wife's Harley broke down, and we had to take it to the Harley shop to get fixed. And when we did,
you bought a bike.
Yeah, the street glide was in there. So I walked out of there with 2 damn brand new Harleys.
Jeez,
that's a good day.
It's an expensive day.
It's an expensive day. Anonymous says the Goldwing is like riding a cloud.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I'm in about 30 years, I could see myself on a Goldwing trike, but I'm not even 40 yet.
A Goldwing trike's like a Honda Accord.
It pretty much is. It's got the same engine in it, don't it?
I think it does.
Hey, before I forget, because I was going there and we kind of switched gears. Project Clean Slate.
Yep.
What is that, and what do you got going on with that?
So Uncle Ken and I are both disabled veterans, and one of the things that helped us when we were transitioning from active duty to civilian life was the fact that we had a motorcycle, we had a Harley Davidson that brought us into an instant community. And it's a community chock full of veterans. You cannot throw a rock and not hit a Harley riding veteran. It's just, they're everywhere.
Yep.
And a lot of us who use riding as our treatment method, if you will. And Project Clean Slate is a nonprofit that Ken, Justin, and I set up with the sole purpose of getting a used Harley Davidson, customizing the ever-living hell out of it, and giving it away to a veteran or an active duty member who is transitioning into a civilian status. And so the first bike, we want to use a Rushmore or newer Road King. We have to do it that one. I don't know why that we chose that, and now that's our goal. But we're looking at doing some trikes, and also I have some connections with a company that can do upfitted motorcycles for people who have missing limbs. So if someone wants to ride a trike but is in a wheelchair, they actually there's a company out there that makes a platform that you can roll your wheelchair up onto, lock it in place, and ride your Harley. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're looking at. And it's 100% grassroots. We don't have any affiliations with any of the larger, what I call MEDA nonprofits, where you join a pool and you get, like, if someone donates $100, you might get $5 of it. We're not doing that. It's everything that we have from Between Two Wheels and the Patreon. And then we also do some giveaways. Advent Black is a big sponsor for anything that we need for Project Clean Slate. They're truly support veterans. They give a military discount all the time. And they've donated a color match set of saddlebags that we ended up raising like $700 to do. So it was really cool. And they sent them out. I spoke with the guy who won them. Absolutely loves them. So anything we can that we are able to bring attention to the struggles that a lot of our military members are dealing with, and that there's alternatives outside of drugs and things like that. You can have a healthy experience on a motorcycle with people who have walked in your shoes, who understand the mental trials that you're dealing with, and can help you just by being there.
Absolutely. So that's amazing. That's amazing. Me being a veteran myself, and when I got out, it was almost like you had to learn how to civilian again.
Yeah.
Especially, it depends on the situation too, that you know, if you were deployed and stuff. So it's actually a hard transition back to civilian life after being in and experiencing that. So that's awesome. That's really.
So, I mean, I did 5 years on a 4-year enlistment, and I didn't know anyone when I came home. You know, I lived with my folks for a few months, but all the people I went to high school with, they had all went off to college or went out and started families and all that stuff. I didn't know anyone. I still, to this day, don't talk to anyone I went to high school with. But yeah, as soon as my Harley was delivered, I was on it, and that night I met my wife. She was married at the time, but that wasn't important. But yeah, met her and met an amazing group of people that I was a young guy, fresh out of the Navy, and they took me in like family. And so many people I've talked to, that's what they are out there doing and making it so amazing for people. I just want to be able to share that.
That's awesome. So
I just threw
yes.
How can people donate?
If you go to betweentwowheels.com, the 2 is spelled out TWO, and click on Project Clean Slate. There's the Patreon links there. There's also a donation button if you just want to do a one-time PayPal donation. And if you itemize your taxes, anything you donate up to $14,000 is tax. You can write off on your taxes as a charitable donation. So anyone who donates, I send out a tax receipt for them, even if it's literally a $2 donation. So
I just put the link in the comments below in this video, so they can just click on the Between the Two Wheels link, and you'll see the donate button is right on the right-hand side there.
Great, thank you.
Good stuff.
That's awesome.
That is
Good
awesome.
stuff. So I am at the point of the live cast each month where my pregnant woman bladder kicks in. So I'm going to have George hold us down for about 1 minute, 2 minutes. All right, George? You got
it. He's getting old. That we do about
Twice now. What's up with that?
He's getting old. He's getting old. I mean, he's the old man.
I have my catheter in, man.
You have a stadium buddy down there?
Mm-hmm.
He's laughing. He knows what that is. So tell me, group rides and single rides, in your opinion, and what do you think is safer?
Okay, if it's me and the OGs, so the Between Two Wheels guys, Brad and Hasso, if it's just us, that's a perfect size group. Even if we tag in Tracy, if she's able to ride with us. So 8 people, we're good.
Yeah.
But I know the 7 other people riding with us, and I know their riding style. But yeah, if you're riding with someone who likes to hot dog it all the time and see if they can make their soft tail do a wheelie, then it's one of those things where you may not want to ride in a group with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I was a road captain for a very, very active hog chapter. And we would do pods of 20 bikes, and we'd have 8 to 10 pods every Friday night. And we'd have a lead and a tail gunner.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you have people who know the route and are in communication with each other, I don't mind doing a big group up to 20 bikes.
Up to 20.
Yeah. But after that, you're herding kittens, and the longer that ride, the more likely someone's going to get themselves hurt. Either they're going to get complacent, stop paying attention, or outride their skill.
Yeah.
I have to herd kittens every time I take these guys out, so I know how you feel.
We were actually on a YouTube on a group ride that Cycle Fanatics did, and we didn't know anybody, and it was a little crazy. I mean, people didn't know, when one bike left the formation, like what to do in the formation. Everybody was doing this kind of stuff to like try and
fill in the gaps and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
to try and fill in the gaps, and it got a little crazy. So, but I mean, it was safe, but it was you had to be paying attention, and not everybody was a good rider in the group. I mean, they had a guy in front of them that was just crawling through the roads.
We had a newbie in front of us. Oh, right in front of me, he was killing.
Honestly, though, I'd much rather have a noob
in the front.
Up front, and even if it's on my right saddlebag, if I'm leading the ride, I'd rather have them up front.
Yeah.
because as a leader, it's up to me to ride to their skill level. So as long as I ride to the weakest link's skill level, then everyone else behind me has to follow suit. Or they can get out of the group and ride their own ride. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, on the back roads, I like the group, but I mean, quite frankly, in the highway, I like 1 or 2 or 3 bikes on the highway. I feel like, especially like when you're on like the Parkway, the Turnpike, or 4 bikes. But I mean, like, especially like we have the Garden State Parkway. I mean, I prefer to ride it alone because I feel like I can control my space so much better, than riding in a group.
Yeah, I mean, I almost always ride with a group. And when I say a group, it's 2 bikes or more.
Right.
And I prefer riding with my wife, even though she does have a history of wiping me out. She's still one of the best riders I've ever met. And she's one of the most technical riders. I mean, even down to her posture. It's an amazing, she's just really good. And she's gone through the advanced rider course. She wants to become an instructor.
Oh, wow.
So I know for a fact that I can keep her in any position in a group ride or just the 2 of us. And she can handle herself better than anyone else. But I hate riding by myself. I'm more likely to get pulled over. And I lose the surface area. If you have 2 bikes and you're staggered, you're now looking at a 20-foot long surface area that you're working with versus just you at 6.5 feet long.
Right.
So that's kind of how I look at it. I like having surface area. I love having bikes glowing with all kinds of goofy colors. I don't like loud bikes, but I get it. Anything that draws attention, I'm happy with.
So that brings up one of my questions I had for you, because I was watching one of your other live streams, and I saw that you're a firm believer in loud pipes save lives.
No, that is definitely not me. Loud pipes annoy lives. That's what it is.
Oh, I mixed it up. My bad.
Yeah, you got me confused with someone else.
You're right behind these 2 dudes, and their bikes are loud. Yeah.
So I say that, but for a little while, I had the loudest pipes in our entire group. And it annoyed the sin out of me. But they were side exit. There's a shorty pipe, 2-into-1. Awesome power, but it had no baffle. It was loud. I mean, even the guy that from the dealership, when I told him to come pick up the bike, he's like, "No, I'm not riding that damn thing. That's too annoying." I was like, "Wear a helmet, jerk. It'll drown it out." But
yeah,
normally for me, it's like I have loud pipes just like Bert does too. But the trip to Sturgis we did, that was the first time ever that I was ever annoyed by my pipes. My ears were literally like ringing.
Do you wear earplugs?
I did for some of it, but normally I don't.
Yeah, get some soft foamies, throw them in there. That helped me out a lot because it fatigues the hell out of you.
Yeah, I have them. I just never put them in.
Yeah, I did a couple of stretches with the full face coming back from Sturgis. I did it, and it's amazing how comfortable you are. You don't really get any of that wind fatigue or anything. It's really crazy different.
Yeah, I mean, my face is bad enough as it is. I don't need any rocks or any of that crap hitting me and making it any worse. So I always have a full face on. I was lucky to get my wife with this.
Chicks kick cars, dude. All right. What else we got before we move into Harley discussion? George had a question. actually 2 questions. What is one thing that you love about Harley and one thing that you hate about Harley?
Oh, damn.
Take your time. We got all that.
I would say I love. It sounds so cliche, especially coming out of my mouth, but I love the fit and finish that Harley puts in. And yes, I know some of their chrome is garbage, but I would say overall, from a finished product, they have some of the cleanest looking cruisers on the market. The thing I hate about Harley is they keep building and designing these damn bikes that no one wants.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's Harley's biggest hatred from me, is that they keep listening to people who are done buying brand new bikes, and they're not listening to the people who don't own motorcycles, who want to get into the sport of riding. So,
and the millennial generation it's a tough generation to appeal to, and I mean that's what you're left with right now.
well, and that's what kills me.
That's the next generation buying bikes now.
Yeah, why would we listen to the people who maybe have one new bike left in them? Because let's face it, the baby boomers are all hitting fixed income age. You know, we can call it retirement or whatever, but it's fixed income age. With a fixed income, luxury items like a brand new bike is probably not going to be high on the majority of their lists. So if you don't have that generation buying 200,000 bikes a year, you need to go to the generation of riders that will buy 200,000 motorcycles a year.
And at $30K nonetheless. They're not $18,000 bikes anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
what are you talking about? I was just on their website today, brand new Softail, 14 grand.
Yeah.
Brand new, was it the Electric Glide Standard? 19 grand. So you can get on any Harley for under 20 and be in any of the families, except for the CVO, or the trikes, but there's that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not looking at Softail, so I just
well, right, but that would be the millennial bike.
Yeah.
What would be the millennial bike? Which one?
A Softail. From a pricing perspective, Sportsters are just too small of motorcycles, and so I'm also coming from a big guy perspective. I'm 6'3", 260 pounds. So from that perspective, I cannot ride a Sportster. And they haven't done anything to the Sportsters in 20 years.
Right.
So for me, the Sportster's out. And unfortunately, those are the coolest looking bikes that they build. They put all the design into the Sportsters.
Yeah.
But that's not the crowd that's going to be buying them. Yep. So many people have been telling women for years that the Sportster is the bike for them. It's a woman's bike. That's the worst bike for a woman. It's top heavy. It's heavy. And the center balance is garbage. So why put someone who's brand new or someone who is lighter in the weight category on something that's the hardest bike to control? Where you put them on a Softail or a touring bike, and they're sitting pretty much in the frame of the bike, not on top of the bike.
Yep.
But that's me.
So when you said they build bikes that people don't want, which ones are you referring to?
Harley Davidson.
I mean, which models are you referring to as far as the bikes they're building? Because obviously people want street glides and road glides and road kings
Well, they want batwing fairing,
Yep.
they want shark nose fairing, or they want a touring bike without a fairing. Those are the only 3 touring options you have. In the Softail, you have a fat front tire or a skinny front tire. You have a 114 or a 107. But everything else are just different accessory packages. So they really have a street, a Sportster, a Softail, and a touring bike. That's all they have. Everything is an accessory package. From the neck back, all touring bikes are the same.
Yep.
From neck back, other than engine variations, Softails are all the same. Sportsters are all the same. Now, yes, the FXDR has a different front end. That's a different platform. But so, again, no one's buying it. They wanted to get a high-performance street cruiser, and they sort of got that with the FXDR, but it's too low to the ground. You're too stretched out. You might as well fold yourself in half when you're trying to ride it so your comfort level goes away. There's a reason sport bike riders have the riding triangle they have. The bike is made for that type of riding. A Softail, your feet are stretched out as far as your hands.
Yep.
You're already in a bad riding position if you're looking for high performance. I would say they were making great strides with the Street or the Bronx, as well as what they're doing with the Pan America. Go out on a limb, take risks. You're a $5 billion company. Use some of that money to take risks. At this point, you really have nothing to lose. Your sales are declining year over year. Take a risk. See if it spawns a little bit of creativity in the market saying, hey, that's unique. That's different. I want to try that.
Yeah.
Do you ever get that when you look at a Road King? Do you get that when you look at the Street Glide? No. It's the worst thing that can happen to Harley is, oh, look, it's another Harley.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell a girl what you ride. Oh, I have the black Harley. She walks outside. There's 100 of them. There's nothing unique.
That's why I want red.
There you go. So all of these
The girls.
Yeah. Look, everyone has their own particular style. Some people don't care about performance. That's great. Don't go after a performance bike, or don't buy a Harley thinking that you're going to get performance out of it. You have to build a Harley to be a high performance machine.
Correct.
That's what you have to do.
Yep.
So performance baggers, you have to build them. That's just how it is. The Challenger, yes, has a powerful motor, but it's still, you have to build that to be a racing or a high performance bike.
But it's got LEDs and Brembo brakes, Roadblock. I mean, let's be honest here.
And it has a super powerful motor, and just happened to take first and third place on the podium for King of the Baggers. None of that actually matters, though, because all of those bikes were heavily modified, prepped, and built motorcycles.
And that's important for people to understand. It's like you look at NASCAR and you see a Toyota Camry or whatever you see on NASCAR. That has nothing to do with that car. And these bikes are very much the same way. I mean, those engines are built to race. Those suspensions are all done. It's of no reflection of the stock bike in which it models, other than the fact that it's got the tank and the fenders and the fairing on it. I mean,
yeah.
You know?
So, look, I've said it before. If you want a performance motorcycle, go buy a performance motorcycle, or be prepared to build one.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to build a performance motorcycle, things are going to break because, again, you're trying to get your motorcycle to do something that was not designed to do.
Yep.
So all these people, oh, my Harley breaks down all the time, or my Harley did this. My Harley, is it stock? what did you do to it? Because I've never had a Harley fail on me unless it was self-induced. My Softail took a big dump. Why? I completely swapped out the motor, put a race-built motor into it.
Oh, wow.
Did it break down? Yes. Why? I had a race motor in it. It's going to break down.
Yeah.
But I can't blame the company that provided the frame or the gas tank as the problem with the engine breaking. It's not their fault. Just like it wouldn't be Honda's fault if the Civic blew a rod out because you decided to add a turbocharger to it and didn't build up the motor.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
So we were looking at, just the other night, we were looking at Harley, first quarter earnings, which were, obviously, or second quarter earnings, which were obviously pretty dismal. And then taking a look at the, the math that they did for the third quarter, which is kind of interesting. And the fact that they're doing stock buybacks, which in some instances would indicate like a strong company, but they're buying back a lot of stock.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. How many models, do you think, in your opinion, how many models do you think they should be putting out in 2021?
Models?
Yeah.
So today they have 34 models, I believe.
34. Counted them last night.
Really, they need to make it more about the customer. So have a Sportster and have an 883 and a 1200 model. Everything else should be exactly what it is. It's a customization. So have a base model that you then build at the dealership. Go to a model that's similar to that. They don't have the production numbers that an auto manufacturer has, so it wouldn't be super difficult to do. And you're putting so much more power into the customer's hand to build the bike they actually want, and not something that some crowd-tested, peer-reviewed model design that someone else came up with.
Yeah, I could see that being a cool thing.
So, Austin, you put this up here.
Mm-hmm.
The Bronx is on hold.
Yeah.
It hasn't been discontinued or anything like that. It's been put on hold so they can focus on the Pan America. Yep. That's all that is.
Yeah,
and
for a couple of years or so, I believe, right?
No, I think 2022 they're supposed to be putting it back in the lineup.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah, so I like the Bronx. I liked it when we saw it at the International Motorcycle Show. It looks great. It looks like something that Harley would build for a street fighter.
Yeah.
It has fit and finish that makes sense. Now, is it going to be as performance-oriented as the Diavel or some of these other brands that have been in that market for a long time? No. But does it give us everything that we came to expect from a 117-year-old company? Does it deliver on that? Does it still have enough of the Harley heritage that you're on a Harley Davidson? And does it have enough of the innovation and the technology that's out there that can go after someone who thinks different? Does it get better fuel economy than your standard 35 to 40 that your Harley gets today? Are you able to have rider modes where you can have nannies turned on that will make it a lot easier for you to grow into that bike? Are there features like that that make it more customer oriented, more rider centric? Because that's what they're missing, and that's what they need, is giving us, the consumer, the riders, more control over how we set up our own motorcycles.
It's funny, the rider modes are one of those things, and Harley puts so much into this infotainment system that I got to tell you, I don't use mine a lot. I mean, I stream my Bluetooth through there, and anytime we're doing GPS or weather or anything like that, it's on a phone these days. So to see them, I would rather see them put more into something like rider modes that Indian has done and is doing. And not just Indian. There are plenty of bike companies, out there that have incorporated that into their models.
And the companies that have done that are the ones that are smart enough to put it on their bikes and target the millennial market.
Yeah.
Indian jumped on it with theirs. Was it FTR? Is that what it is? I don't remember. Anyways, their crossover bike, it has rider modes, and it's an amazing bike. I've heard some horror stories from owners, but it's a new platform. There are going to be hiccups in a new platform. But yeah, they need to have more things like the Bronx, more things like Pan America, those risks. Go out there, take the risk. If it fails, who cares? You put out the Rocker C. Great concepts, but you're like 6 years too late. Those are just sold amazingly 6 years earlier. If you would have put out the Crossbones 3 years earlier, you would have done better, because that's what people were looking for at that time. The Livewire is actually, and I'm eating my words, it's an expensive bike, yes.
Oh yeah.
But it's giving them the technological bump that they need to really become a player. That's what they have to do. Tesla did it. Their first car that they really produced was over $100,000 to buy. They had to do that because that covered the R&D, that covered all of the manufacturing processes and everything like that, and made them to where they can streamline and put out a $30,000 electric vehicle. So I think Harley's doing that, and with these e-bikes that they're coming out with, that's just going to push their technological side, that arm of Harley, just a little bit further.
So in the same thing with the going back to the basics, but with the new technology with the bicycles, the electric bicycles they're putting back out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Series 1. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I think it looks amazing. And yeah, that's a true heritage throwback.
Yep.
And it still has more power than the original.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the Livewire is a cool bike, and you could say, what the Zero is a cheaper bike, but it's still, when it comes to Harley, the fit and finish on that Livewire is solid.
Yeah, even the little leather pieces that are part of the seat that go around the tank, the fake tank, so that your knees aren't rubbing up on that plastic piece or whatever it is. It's just that thought. And the stitching is perfect.
Yep.
You don't see a bunch of cross stitching and shit like that. It's straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we still haven't ridden one. It's still on the list, man. I have not been on one yet.
Yeah, I would say that they took a leap, and I dogged the crap out of them for it, especially with the $30,000 price tag. But how many do your dealers have in stock? Because mine don't have any.
We've got one or two that are on that are at Barb's. I mean, it's they always, but I don't know how many they're selling, but I know that they always have some there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sticker shock hurt. But when people started actually throwing their legs over those and started riding it, I think they converted a whole lot of people. Is the millennial Harley Davidson group ready for a $30,000 electric bike? No. They're not. They're ready for a $15,000 electric bike that can go further than the Livewire can. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
The Pan America, the first Harley Davidson branded adventure touring bike. You have to start somewhere.
Badger said 5. Justin said 4 in Detroit.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the Pan America just the other night, and the live wire is the same thing. They're not putting the live wire out there to compete with Zero. I feel like they're not putting the Pan America out there to compete with the Africa Twin. That's not the price point that it's aimed at. That bike is going to be up with the BMWs.
It really comes down to putting it out there to show the world, hey, it may not be better than the BMW or the Africa Twin, but it's our first try.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens on our second model. We just need to see the Pan America do well.
Yeah, I'd like to see it do well.
As long as it does well enough to where they sell probably 80 to 85% of production, there will be another model year. And if we hit big numbers in that second model year, it'll become more of a built-in model for us. Dirty D's.
He's in that. I was just looking at this comment, Bert. I'm glad you threw it up there. And it's
old dirty man.
You price yourself out of the volume market, and I mean, I guess it's, we have this. We discuss YouTubers this way. Is it quality or quantity? And I don't know that Harley's ever necessarily been a quantity company.
No,
they've gone through phases where they've created their own demand, and
and I'm actually kind of hoping that they go back to that.
Yeah.
They need to control their supply better. And I get it. If you look at the history of when Harley makes their decisions to do stuff, if you look at how easy credit was to get back in the 2005, 2006, is around that time period when Harley ramped up production because there's a lot more extra income, disposable income for people because they were refinancing their houses and taking $100,000 out to go buy their toys.
Yep.
But then they never slowed the production back down to manage the supply when the demand went away. If you're going to play with supply and demand, go for it. Just be smart about it. Manage it correctly.
Yeah. And they need, on one of your podcasts, you talked about a marketing campaign they had in the early 2000s. And when I bought my Crossbones, that was the dark custom marketing campaign that they had, which was I think the last really good marketing campaign they had.
Yeah.
Like 11, 12 years ago. And I really feel like they could use something like that, more geared towards that, millennial generation. I don't feel like that exists for them.
Yeah, I actually still have that note up here. Oh crap, I did. I still had that, whatever that was.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a big part of it. So you like the new CEO?
I don't know him enough. I don't know his history or his background enough to say that I like him. I will say that I like the fact that he's not an automotive guy. He's coming out of design and more around the fashion side of manufacturing.
Sneakers.
And not
sneakers.
Well, yeah. Well, it's fashion, right? You have shoes and apparel and things like that, but those, think about a shoe company that's that size. Think about the R&D that they have to do to keep up.
Yeah.
So he turned a company that was going bankrupt into a highly successful company by focusing R&D in the right place, by focusing the design after the customers that he wanted, to build your marketing campaigns around the buyers that you're trying to target. So I'm hoping that translates over for him well within Harley Davidson. And I'll tell you right now, the fact that Harley turned him from an interim into the actual CEO, he probably has some pretty good plans.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's not a stranger to the company. He was on the board. He didn't come out of left field, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's Does he ride? I don't know whether he rides or not. I don't know.
I don't know if he rides, but I do know that the CEOs do go through Rider's Edge or whatever the Rider Academy is,
Okay.
and they have to ride a motorcycle. But as we saw in the news over the last week, Harley's been cutting a lot of their sponsors or sponsorships.
Yeah.
So a lot of the events where the CEO would have to ride are no longer happening. But I guarantee you, if he's still the CEO on the 120th anniversary, you'll see him on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Even if it's a trike. You know, they had one CEO that couldn't hold it up very well, so.
Puma Glide.
The Puma Glide.
That's funny. Bryce said, does anyone on the board even ride? I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I would
probably not. You have to understand something about the board director.
Yeah.
A lot of those are going to be corporate tycoons.
Yep.
So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, you probably have people who are like pension administrators.
Yeah.
You know, they don't care about the motorcycle part. They care about seeing a return on their investments. So a lot of the institutional investors are going to have their people, and a lot of VC firms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just read and heard that they went ahead and canceled all their promos and stuff like that were offering to any new buyer. So do you actually put that in the same area as trying to restructure the company, trying to get the funds back so they can create the correct product for the people and then bring it back at a later date?
All of their marketing and we'll call them incentive programs, they're all cyclical. So they follow a model that kind of chases the riding season. So you're not going to see a whole lot of really good deals happening because they already know all the dealerships are going to be lowering the prices of their bikes during the winter season. But you're going to start seeing stuff like really good financing deals and other types of incentives come spring, or, you know, maybe even late January. You'll start seeing that start kicking off because they're going to follow that riding season. They did it last year, or I guess I should say this year, because they didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It cost them next to nothing to do those types of incentives, and they didn't sell a whole lot of bikes, as we saw.
Yeah.
So, and they do that trade in, trade up, which is cyclical. Like almost every other year, it seems like they're doing a trade in, trade up, and that's something where, you know, it's sales. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like we're gonna get people into a Sportster in, say, August, because that's a lot of times when trade in, trade up starts, like July, August, and then that next June, those trade in, trade up deals are coming through, and if people are, you know, capitalizing on that, they are taking a hit on that.
Oh well.
They're
not.
Yeah,
they really aren't. If you understood how much of a margin is built into those, they're not losing anything, and they recoup it on the sell of that used bike.
Yeah.
So they're getting you into another model, so that's another sell for the year, and they're recouping a lot of the money that they gave back to you. So, and honestly, over a 6 to 8 month period where that trade in, trade up thing is happening, you're barely paying off your first set of interest at that point.
Oh yeah, you're not.
I mean,
that is true.
95% of your payments going to interest, and those do not come with low interest rate loans.
Yep.
I bought my first Harley. I owned for 6 weeks. I bought in on a trade in, trade up.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I looked at 6% interest with a trade-in, trade-up, or 2.99% interest on a brand new, just the bike I wanted.
Yeah.
So for me, it made more sense to stick with the the buying it straight up. But the trade-in, trade-up thing is a great tool
for new riders.
Yeah,
or,
get them in there. Let them try a street or a Sportster, whatever they did the Rider Academy on. Put them on something they're comfortable with. Let them grow their skills and their confidence in riding, and then they're ready for a Softail or maybe even a touring bike. Who knows?
The Street Glide. That's what everybody went for.
They sold a lot of Street Glides when those things came out, and what people didn't realize is that you could build them for a lot less than you could buy them.
Yep.
That's why you saw the Electric Glide Standard disappear. Because people started doing the math, they could get better sound systems than the Harman Kardon crap that they gave us. They could put in GPS units, better speakers, and just get the motor painted or upgrade the motor and get the black motor. So they quietly got rid of those because people were buying those instead of the Street Glide.
That Electric Glide Standard, we've ridden a couple times with a guy. He has a YouTube channel, Holy Shift, and he's customized the hell out of his Electric Glide Standard. I mean, he's got a Sony entertainment system in there. He's got some awesome speakers. It's it's all money, but I mean, he's done a lot to it.
Right.
Yeah.
A83 rider went from an 883 iron to an Electric Glide Ultra Classic. That's a hell of a jump. But it's good though.
Wow.
Yeah. Mark at home says he doesn't consult with corporate. There you go.
See, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
The riders are not consulting corporate about how to have fun on their motorcycles, how to ride them in the proper fashion. And when I say that, I mean like what you're wearing.
Yep.
You have to be decked out in all the Harley. If the shoe fits. But hey, I got my Harley shirt on, so and a hat. All my hats are Harley.
So, I wanted to talk about April 2nd, 1983.
The day Harley died?
The day Harley died, according to your most recent live stream, you did some research, and you came up with that date as the day Harley died.
Yep.
It was very interesting. It was good stuff. Can you kind of recap that, kind of put that in a little nutshell for us? I know you had a big long thing written out, and you probably don't have that with you, but just from memory.
I happen to have it up right here next to me. So I chose that date because of that was the day that Ronald Reagan played the protectionist president and in essence bailed out Harley Davidson by tacking on a massive tariff on all Japanese motorcycles. It went from 4.5% to 45% overnight. The thought was that would give Harley Davidson enough time to revamp, retool, and get back on their feet. Unfortunately for Harley, they only had that tariff for 4 years. And over that time, the tariff was slowly dropping back down to the pre-tariff percentage. But during the time of that tariff, Harley never innovated. They rested on their laurels. They didn't do anything to go after a new market. They sat, they continued building and cranking out what they already had. They did a slight innovations here or there. We saw the V-Rod, the Evo motor, the twin cam motor, now the Milwaukee 8, but all these things that they innovated, but ABS didn't come out in standard until the late 2010s. You didn't have fuel injection until the late 90s, the early 2000s, and even in 2004, it was an option. But during that same time, you had companies such as Honda, such as Yamaha, such as BMW, revamping their bikes for the American market. So when that tariff disappeared, our shores were flooded from the east and from the west with all the European and Japanese motorcycles that were amazing machines. Harley never countered that. They came out with the Fat Boy. Okay, it's another Softail, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
You came out with the V-Rod. Everything was looking great. The younger generation, my generation, loved the V-Rod.
The Harley faithful did not.
The Harley elite did not.
Nope.
So even though Harley sold all of the V-Rods they produce, they still cut it because they were not selling them at the pace that they're selling street glides or road glides. And let's face it, we saw it a year later. They were shuttering down Kansas City plant, and that's where the V-Rod was made.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to drop 2 of the 3 models you're building and only retool 1 assembly line instead of having to create additional. So when they moved the Sportster, they killed off the V-Rod and the Dyna, and they killed off the Kansas City manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, yes, it's an arbitrary date, but leading up to that, this was their rebirth. This was right after they got themselves out of the chokehold that was AMF, but they didn't continue. They didn't expand their horizons. They didn't go after the youth. In the mid-2000s, they bought MV Agusta. Great. You bought another sport bike company. Perfect. Except for their luxury sport bikes. The ones that the 18-year-old dude can't afford. So you didn't actually expand your horizons. They lost a ton of money when they ended up selling off MV Agusta because they had idiots running it. They didn't keep the MV Agusta team in there. They put Harley Davidson executives in there. How do you screw up Harley Davidson? You let Harley Davidson executives run it. That's the problem today. And when I said towards the end, is Harley dying? I put out there that I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope the old Harley dies and we get an amazing Harley Phoenix that comes out from the ashes with designs that more people want to buy, taking risks that people are going to pay attention to. They may not like it, but if you're innovating, no one's going to dog you for that.
Right.
Stop being behind the edge and start leading. Start looking at the bleeding edge of technology. Again, risks reap rewards.
I see where you're coming from. All right.
As long as they keep the road glide.
Then okay. They got rid of it for that 1 year because they couldn't figure out the Rushmore fairing.
Yeah.
That was the only reason. They had to redesign the entire inner fairing.
And it came out, like hopefully Harley comes out better on the other side of what they're going through. The Road Glide came out better on the other end. I mean, that fairing, when that redesign of that fairing was a huge thing for them.
Yeah.
It's so, but yeah, I think I don't know. I think we're going to see them trim down their models. One thing I like that Harley did was they brought their trikes in house from Lehman, and I like the Harley trike. I mean, when you look at the old Lehman trikes of how they were, and you look at what a Harley trike is now, I think it is a Harley trike. And that's a big market for that.
It is,
You know?
especially with all the old geezers who aren't buying new bikes. They're buying trikes because they're older. They can't keep a 800-pound motorcycle standing up easy.
Yep.
883 says, bring back the Buell. Listen, man, they're not bringing back the Buell. Not bringing back the Buell.
You know, if they brought back the Buell, they would only really have one good model. What was it, the 1125R or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful bike. But the problem with Buell is they never made any money. They never turned a profit. They only had one profitable motorcycle, and that was that 1125R or CR or whatever.
Yep.
But that was their only profitable bike. And let's face it, if you look at what Eric Buell has done since being canned at Harley, he's had 2 companies fail.
Mm-hmm.
He's an engineer. He's not a businessman.
Right.
And again, old management style doesn't work today.
The other thing about Buell, and granted, I mean, it's still a Harley, and Harley people, you know, they like to buy parts and customize their bikes. I mean, we all do it. The Buell was not a bike you could ever do that to. And I have a good friend who owns one. For him to even upgrade the exhaust, he's basically got to send his exhaust out and have it modified. He can't put another bolt-on pipe onto that Buell. You know, that's just an aspect of the Harley community that Buell was never.
Well, and that was Harley. Well, that was Buell's fault.
Right.
They never had a real star. So the aftermarket wasn't going to go out and build something for the Buell when they had everyone and their dog buying Gixxers, Ninjas, and the CBRs.
Yeah.
But Harley tried to take the Harley way and just drop it on top of Buell. You know, Harley did great things with Hog. When it really started taking off, they were doing great things. But then they had Bragg, the Buell Riders Adventure Group. Who the hell wants to go be part of that? I mean, the name just sounds corny. But
Where's Justin? Is Justin still in here? He might be part of Bragg.
Austin joined that.
He might have a Bragg.
I wouldn't. No.
But what's adventurous about a Buell? I mean, the Ulysses or however you say it, that was the only ADV bike they had. So maybe it was just for them.
Yeah.
But you got this Auto Magic membership for a year for Bragg that they had very few year-over-year renewals because no one did anything with it. I mean, the chapter that was at our local dealership had 0 members. But wow. I lived in Dallas. Not a lot of places to go do a bunch of off-road adventure riding in and around Dallas. Down here in San Antonio, up north where Adam's at, lots of areas to go ride. But not so much in Dallas. And that's going to be the case for all of your major metropolitan areas.
Yep.
So where the largest influx of your customer base is sitting, they have nothing to go use the tool that you've provided to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I sat on up in the Poconos, right? Was a Buell?
Oh, that was a Buell Blast, and there's a picture.
Buell Blast, yeah.
And honestly, bringing up that comment, we will check out our Instagram. We'll put that picture up.
Was it that guy?
Go
little
for it.
Mike?
You know what? The hell with it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Do it. Okay. Yeah, he's doing it right now. Damn.
And one of your recent live streams, Uncle Ken was talking about riding the Buell for the
Riders Academy.
The Riders Academy course. And that was funny. I was listening to that because I was watching some of your old stuff today. And that brought back because I had the same exact situation as him. at 6'3", like 300 pounds, trying to ride that rider's course on that thing. And like you said, great on the straightaways. Then when you got to do, you're getting your turns and stuff, your knees are hitting the handlebars, and oh man, it was horrible.
I did my rider course on a little Yamaha 250.
Yep, same here.
And I mean, I just stood up and the bike was still just standing there. I could straddle the bike.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I rode to the class every, the 3 days on my Softail. So I even asked the instructors, like, hey, can I take the test on my bike? Oh, we're not allowed to do that. We don't have, it's liability. I was like, liability is me on that tiny ass little bike. That's a liability.
That's where they get you, and they tell you come back to the advanced course where you use your bike.
Yeah.
To do the course.
That's great.
Funny.
That's a liability.
Liability.
That's funny.
What else you got, Bert?
Really, it was just so we got into the Harley stuff and talking about this whole rewire plan that they got.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
They haven't really done anything yet.
No.
Right.
I mean, they closed India factory, which we saw that coming as soon as they opened the Thailand one up.
Yep.
They've entered into agreements with the largest motorcycle producer on earth to sell motorcycles that's licensed in India. It's the same group, I believe, that they're working with in China. So, okay, great. They're slapping their name on something else. But other than that, they haven't done anything that shows what they're trying to accomplish. So show me what it looks like in January. Give us a sneak peek of what models are to come. Don't tell me that it's a brand new bike and it's a Road King Ultra Special or whatever, custom special. No, don't tell me it's a new bike when it's an accessory package.
Right.
Okay.
So for me, I like the fact that they are trying to cut costs. I like the fact that they are not doing new models in August because that's just ridiculous.
Yep.
But, let's see. I'm not going to say they're doing anything wrong. I mean, the doors are still open. They're still producing motorcycles. I would just like to see what comes from the rewire. And a lot of it, to be honest, guys, is going to be behind the scenes. None of us as the consumer will probably ever see the drastic changes of rewire.
I feel like we kind of are entitled to at this point because they've almost made it like a marketing campaign, for crying out loud. The way they talk about it.
But they're only talking about it on investor calls or things that are in the financial news. They're not talking about it from a consumer standpoint.
Yeah.
It's us. It's the content creators who read the news reports about Harley that then we turn around and report on it.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Okay.
So.
So Jonny Roadblock is named and appointed the new CEO of Harley Davidson. What would your strategy be moving forward to get Harley back to its glory days?
Damn, you put him on the spot hard.
and 30 D's, who is also appointed CEO.
And yes, just
the other one, you got to fight him.
He set the bar low. He's bringing back the knuckle. So,
I think for me, I would start by trimming down the models, going in a direction of consumer customization. So all the dealerships would have base models. You choose your color, all that stuff. They just go and put it on the bike. It's that easy. But I would definitely change my marketing. I would do everything in my power to get away from the Billy Badass mentality and start attacking it from what am I getting when I buy a Harley Davidson? Yes, it's a premium brand, but why is it premium? And start shifting the focus away from claiming to be a luxury brand, but not providing luxury goods. Sell the product for a lower profit margin, but sell more of the bikes because more people can afford them. And I would definitely expand deeper into the electric motorcycle area. That is the future. No matter what anyone out there is trying to say, and all the naysayers, because the naysayers, by the way, are all of them are over 50 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't care what those guys say. I'm listening to what the 19, 20-year-olds are saying with their wallet, because that's how people talk. That's how people vote. You want to know how good of a brand you're doing? Look at your revenue. How is your brand doing?
Diversity.
Exactly. And I would split a new company off of Harley Davidson. I don't know what it'd be, but it would be my Scion. I've talked about this before, but I would have a Scion style Harley Davidson brand. Something that a 17-year-old, 18-year-old person can afford, and something they're going to care about, something that gets them into the Harley Davidson family, but at a price point that makes sense. Oh, no. There we go.
That's the one I was trying to put up.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be the direction I would go. I would have the Bronx, I'd have the Pan America, I'd have the Custom, all under that brand. That would be my risk-taking brand, and that's where I can try out new things. Try out a lighter weight, if you want to call it that, live wire. Come out with one that's a $15,000 live wire, something that competes with the actual electric bikes that are doing well. Start
comfortable.
Yeah, start paying attention to what the market's actually buying. What do they want? I'm not going to force the Harley Davidson way down my customer's throat. I want them to direct what I'm producing, because they're the ones who have to buy it and live with it.
Yeah.
So that's the direction I would go.
Okay.
So do you think you would be able to work hand in hand with Dirty D's to make this happen, or what?
I'd work with D's any time of the week. You and I are buddies. So,
it's interesting how you describe like a spinning off a Scion, because unrelated to motorcycles, musical instrument companies, Fender, Taylor, Martin, they all have
generics.
A generic, a Japanese equivalent or a Mexican equivalent.
Yeah, Gibson and Epiphone.
Yep, Gibson and Epiphone. It's that's an industry that's been decades ahead of something like that. So
I would have to also introduce the word aluminum to Harley Davidson. They don't know what that is.
No,
they don't understand it's lightweight and strong, and would cut significant weight and cost off of their bigger motorcycles. I'm just saying, not that I've complained about this a lot, but
well, you bring up a good point. Like you said earlier, the whole Challenger and the Harley, the motors itself. One of them is the old style push rod, which they don't want to get away from. And you have Challenger and Indian that have an overhead cam, and then they have the short stroke piston stroke, which is what brings the horsepower because there's more combustion in there. It's not air cooled, it's liquid cooled. So that's where the power and torque comes from Challenger. But Harley likes to stay with the old school push rod, heavy clunking, all American.
Yeah, and hopefully I'm hoping that this new engine that they're producing for this is the most powerful motor they've ever built. That's what I'm hoping for. And
That's
yes, they have to fill the shoes of a V-Rod motor, but it's a very similar motor. So cranking out that kind of power in a lighter weight motorcycle, you're going to get performance people going after your motorcycle. I mean, here's the thing. You go buy the Screaming Eagle 131. It's going to cost you $6,500 plus install. And I can go get a BMW K1600B that has more power, better performance, and it's $6,000 cheaper.
Yeah.
So for me, I need to be able to show, as the CEO, I need to be able to show my customers what you're getting for that price tag. I can say, yes, I use thick-walled steel on my frames. No one cares about that because at 60 miles an hour, when you hit pavement, your frame's going to bend. If it's aluminum or if it's steel, it's going to happen. So as a rider, do I want heavy steel that's going to crumble, or do I want lightweight aluminum that's also going to crumble? I'm going to take the aluminum because I get the performance kick from that. 83, you're spot on.
Yep, that's what I just. That's our point. Yeah, I think we all feel that way.
But isn't the Sporty one of the ones they're looking at to get rid of altogether?
No. So the Sporty engine only has one more model year before it can't pass EU standards.
And it's already like on the borderline with Europe. I mean, they're not going to make. They can't continue to sell that engine in the EU.
No. So I think that once they release the Pan America and they get, what do they call it? The Revolution motor?
Yeah.
Once they get that tested, that's going to end up in the Sportster. I almost guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can get away with it because they already, the Scout sells really well. It's water cooled.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I don't know, 35 years of Honda Shadow selling well. So there's proof of concepts there. They can do a water cooled Sportster and not offend the actual market. Don't listen to the old school Harley guys. No one gives a crap about their opinions. What are the actual buyers going to think? And we already know if you can lower the price down, make it to where it's comparable to a Honda Shadow, and you're making it to where it performs or outperforms those motorcycles, you're creating your own new market for it.
Wow.
I like my clunkiness. When I slam that bike in the first gear and it's got that big old, you know what? Call me nuts. That's part of the whole experience for me.
It's like back in the day with the 454 and the 350. You had to have that 454 even though it had the same horsepower.
My Crossbones, man, that twin cam transmission that's on there, that clunks like nobody's business going from first to second. Always has. And I smile every time I do it. So it's.
Oh, yeah.
So you fall in that category with the old guys, right? You like that old?
I guess so.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep, I hear you.
It's one of those things too. When I was in drag racing, I liked the Power Glide, but in a high performance street car, I want that double clutched, paddle shifters because it's shifting a lot faster than I can shift a Power Glide. And then you have all these people saying, "Oh, well, we need a standard." No, no. I want performance. You don't get the performance out of a stick. That's my opinion. But again, that's what it all comes down to. If you can customize your own ride, you can have it the way you want.
Yep. Yep. True story.
Hardest thing for Harley is trying to progress without alienating the faithful. Here's the thing, and I'm not picking on this on 99 or anything like that, but if they're faithful, they're not going to be, put down or oppressed by the company trying to take a risk, trying something new. The true Harley faithful will see it as something of, okay, they're trying to grow. These innovations that they do over here will probably end up trickling down into the other Harleys. The technology that we want, that we're not seeing today, you put in a new model. Let that be your test bed. But the true Harley faithful, just like all these Americans, because of the election, I'm leaving if this person gets elected. I'm leaving if that person gets elected. Then leave. Good riddance. If you're not able to live in a country because the leader is not the person you voted for, then leave. Don't announce it. Actions speak louder than words. I saw some rapper, I'm leaving if Trump gets elected again. I've never heard of you. You need to go to Europe. Maybe your music will do better over there.
That's where he's popular in Europe.
So
him and Hasselhoff.
Yeah. So it's if people are faithful to a brand, which first off, you're crazy if you are, but brand loyalty shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what they produce. If it's something completely different out of the norm, you shouldn't hate the company because of that. You should embrace it.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it this way. The more they are able to innovate and be successful, that means hopefully they'll produce a bike that I want to buy, and they'll be around to do that. And that's even with the electric bikes and the worldwide stuff that they were pushing. It's like, I hope that stuff sells. I really do. I'm not going to buy it because it's not my gig, but hopefully that will allow them to make a better road glide, or at some point make a better trike, or continue to support that product. And that's really what
we see it all the time. What does well in the touring bikes makes their way down to the Softails.
Yep.
Infotainment. It's been on the touring bikes.
Cruise control.
Exactly. Throttle by wire. So all these things that are innovations, they have to start somewhere. And the Harley loyal and the Harley elitists need to stop picking on Harley for trying something new. Embrace it. Tell them, hey, try more. This didn't work? Cool. Why didn't it work? Go back, fix that, and reintroduce it.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, well, we just hit 2 hours, guys. Before we wrap this up, so I know we got, the whole 2020 pandemic going on, and you're unemployed. Do you have anything motorcycle related trips planned for the next year?
No. There's no rallies left this year for me to do. There is talks of the International Motorcycle Show up in Dallas. I don't know how that's even going to look. So as it sits right now, nothing. Until I go trade in my bike, get it BMW, set the internet on fire.
Hey, you do you, man. Whatever works for you, brother.
One of the things that I'm hoping to get into, and it's going to be easier when I'm up in Dallas, I want to start doing more rider stories. I don't know if you guys are fans of Vin Wiki, the YouTube channel, but he does these driver stories, and it's kind of a cool concept. The Regular Ass People podcast, they interview people in a bar, random people, because everyone has their own story. So I'd like to be able to catch up with people that are bikers and kind of get their story. Tell me a time when, and it's all them. No one wants to see this mug on the screen all the time. So if I can do that and have kind of a cool backdrop, maybe like Fast Life Garage, or maybe something up at Moosecraft, something where I can have people in a nice, comfortable area and they can tell a story or 2 or 3 stories. So that's something I'd like to start doing. And then, depending on job situation and what's going on early next year, I do have some plans to go back up into Arkansas, do some riding up there, go hang out with Rosie up in Missouri, go ride with her and her crew. Just going out and just doing more just one-off events.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The rallies are fun because I can kind of meet a lot of fans at one time, but I rarely get that personal touch when it's a big group.
Yeah.
When we do the meet and greets after the IMS shows at the burger shop in Dallas, that's more intimate. You're able to actually speak to them and hear their stories and understand why they ride. Whereas meet and greets where, I'm at a rally and there's 2,000 people, I don't even remember anyone's name. So that's something that I am looking at doing and getting back to doing. It's more the rider stories types of things.
Cool. Well, we're hoping to get back down towards Arkansas and in that area again to ride sometime soon. So hopefully, maybe when we get back down there, we'll be able to meet up and actually meet you in person.
Oh, hell yeah! I have a trailer. I can travel.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. But listen, man, we really just really appreciate you coming on tonight and hanging out with us for over 2 hours now and talking Harley and all that jazz, man. It's been a lot of fun, and we just really appreciate you coming on. So
for sure, it's been a pleasure coming on, and I appreciate you guys thinking about me and inviting me on your show. It's an honor. Thank you.
Cool, and thank you for that. I didn't get to watch all of your last live stream live, but I rewatched it and saw your cool shout out. Promoting our last video about the Bring It Home ride. That was cool. Giving us a little plug, so appreciate that.
I love that video. I love those types of videos, the true story videos. I love that.
Thanks.
It was long as hell, but I
was. I was telling these guys, I was like, it's probably going to be like 20 minutes, or like I'm at 25 minutes. I'm at 30 minutes. I'm like, it's now an HBO special. I don't know.
Thank you, though. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we do appreciate that.
Sure.
And I mean, if you're still here in the side chat, thank you guys for hanging out. And Between Two Wheels is linked in the comments below. Lots of, new year coming up for them. I'm going to start recording in January. And if you go to BetweenTwoWheels.com, they're doing Project Clean Slate, which is a really awesome thing that Roadblock and Uncle Ken and Bike and Bird are doing to build a bike for veterans. So you can donate to Project Clean Slate or join their Patreon there.
And you guys are doing your live stream every other week?
Ish. We didn't do one this week because of Ken having Rona and me being where I'm at, but it is coming out.
Okay.
Probably the week after next, because Thanksgiving's coming up. We'll probably not do anything until December.
Yeah. But guys, check that out because they do a really good live stream. They have a lot of good topics and a lot of good discussion. So if you're interested in that, check that out. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, man. Well, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.